Most of what you've been told about salt could be misleading. According to metabolic health expert Dr. Ben Bikman, the long-standing belief that reducing salt is always good for you isn't the full story. In fact, he explains that too little salt may set off a hormonal response that encourages your body to store fat instead of shedding it.
Mineralocorticoid receptors, which allows them to bind aldosterone, and then when aldosterone binds to the fat cells, you'll never guess what it does, unfortunately. The binding of aldosterone to its receptors in the fat tissue can change its behavior and stimulate growth. So it can not only promote fat cell differentiation, helping pre-adipocytes or early fat cells actually become mature fat.
Salt is made up of roughly 40% sodium, and sodium is far more vital than most people realize. Beyond helping regulate fluid balance, it's crucial for nerve signaling, muscle contractions, nutrient absorption, and even generating energy. When sodium levels fall too low, the body flips on the RAS system, a built-in hormonal mechanism designed to restore sodium to the bloodstream at all costs.
So important, it shouldn't surprise you that there are, in fact, some redundant systems, but one primary system, and that is called the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. Sometimes it's just abbreviated as RAAS, or just sometimes even stated as RAS. Although there are other signals that are just RAS, so that can be a little confusing. But the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system is the main system for regulating salt in the body.
When sodium drops too low, the RAS system fires up, prompting your adrenal glands to release two powerful hormones, aldosterone and angiotensin II. That's when the real metabolic turmoil begins. According to Dr. Ben Bikman, these hormones don't just regulate blood pressure. They act directly on your fat cells, causing them to expand, inflame, resist insulin, and hoard fat as if out of nowhere. Even more surprising, restricting salt can drive insulin levels higher, the very hormone responsible for fat storage. The result? In trying to avoid salt for better health, your body may actually be pushed into fat-storing mode instead.
Normal physiological response to that salt restriction is an increase in insulin levels. So reducing salt intake will absolutely result in these compensatory pathways or mechanisms turning on. Aldosterone will go up, angiotensin II, its earlier signal will go up, but also insulin will. Chronically elevated insulin is indeed a primary cause of insulin resistance. So increased reduction in salt consumption will increase aldosterone in order to try to restore salt, but it will also increase insulin, thereby, no surprise, promoting insulin resistance. So yes, salt restriction has been shown to cause insulin resistance. You can look up the study Lastra, Lastra, et al. In 2010, another one Sharma et al. In 1999. They found that, once again, salt restriction leads to increased insulin levels, reduced insulin sensitivity, which they found complicates overall metabolic syndrome. Isn't it ironic that we've been told to restrict salt in order to reduce the health consequence risk or disease risk, particularly in things like diabetes and heart disease, and yet by restricting salt, we're increasing insulin resistance, which is arguably the leading contributor, certainly to type 2 diabetes, but even to heart disease.
If you're eating clean but still struggling to lose weight, it may be time to rethink your salt intake. Instead of fearing salt, learn how to make it work for your metabolism. The key is reintroducing the right kind of salt, not from chips, processed snacks, or fast food, but from natural sources your body actually uses in vital processes. Options like iodized sea salt, Himalayan salt, or Celtic salt are rich in trace minerals and free of harmful additives. By contrast, most table salt is highly processed, stripped of nutrients, and often mixed with anti-caking agents that can interfere with absorption. How you use salt also makes a big difference. One of the simplest ways to support your metabolism is to drink salt water first thing in the morning. Just dissolve a quarter teaspoon of natural salt in warm water and sip it right after waking. This helps provide your body with sodium without activating the hormonal alarm system that drives fat storage. You can also use the same mix before a workout for an added boost. And don't hesitate to salt your home-cooked meals. If you're avoiding processed foods, chances are you're not getting enough sodium. A sprinkle of natural salt on an omelette or salad won't hurt. In fact, it can help your metabolism. When sodium levels are adequate, your body no longer needs to pump out excess aldosterone and angiotensin II, the hormones that make fat cells expand, inflame, and resist insulin.
Are salt restricted, or you have low sodium levels in your body, you're going to have higher levels of the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone mediators, more angiotensin II and more aldosterone. And we just got done exploring how those are able to induce a direct signal at the fat cells, promoting not only the hyperplasia or an increase in the number of fat cells, but also the growth or the hypertrophy of fat cells. Let's just keep things in perspective. As much as I have explained to you, and rightly so, that angiotensin II and aldosterone have the ability to contribute to fat cell growth, it still pales in comparison to the fat cell stimulus that comes from elevated insulin. Now, if you imagine someone who's eating lots of refined starches and sugars, has high insulin levels promoting energy storage and fat cell growth, while also restricting salt because they've been told to eat a low-fat, high-carb diet and been told to avoid salt, you can see how we are just really adding fuel to the fire here to promote fat cell growth, or adding salt to the starchy chips, if you will, to make it a more apt analogy.
Salt is one of the simplest and safest tools you can use to support your metabolism. Unlike many modern quick fixes, it comes without side effects. Today, more than 75% of people over 40 who are overweight are turning to drugs like Ozempic, marketed as miracle injections, that suppress appetite by blocking the hunger hormone GLP-1. But here's the catch. While they may help in the short term, these drugs often carry a long list of physical and psychological side effects.
Drugs do give me cause for concern as a biomedical scientist. So some of these drugs, like semaglutide, which is the main molecule in Ozempic and Wegovy, have really gained popularity because they will effectively promote weight loss, but the concerns are significant enough that I really think they need to be highlighted. One concern is what happens with lean mass. A paper that was published that indicated that the use of semaglutide resulted in 40% of the weight lost coming from fat-free mass or lean mass. Now, that's not to say it was all muscle and bone, because fat-free mass or lean mass does also account for some water loss. But suffice it to say, there would be some tissue loss from muscle and bone. And depending on the age of the individual, that may be tissue loss that they would struggle greatly in order to regain that after it's been lost. Another concern that was really highlighted in a paper just published is mental health. There is a very statistically significant, and I would add very meaningful, increase in poor mental health outcomes. Like the risk of depression goes up almost 200%, and the risk of suicidal behavior and anxiety goes up by a little over 100%, so it doubles.
It's time to rethink your relationship with salt. Learning how to use it wisely can transform the way your body works. For decades, you've been told that salt is harmful, but the truth is, without enough of it, your body may remain locked in fat-storing mode no matter how clean your diet is. Instead of fearing salt, embrace it as a tool. Used properly, it can turn everyday meals into fuel for a faster, healthier metabolism.